A recent article from Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report has identified 3 Atlanta Falcons players as potential trade candidates following mandatory minicamps, with defensive lineman David Onyemata being a somewhat surprising inclusion. The 2 more commonly discussed names on Knox's list are quarterback Kirk Cousins and tight end Kyle Pitts. Trade rumors have consistently surrounded Cousins, especially with the drafting of Michael Penix Jr. Pitts has also been mentioned by some commentators as a player who could potentially be on the move. Knox included both in his post-minicamp trade block big board. However, the unexpected name to appear, albeit as an honorable mention rather than in the top 10, was David Onyemata. Knox's general criteria for his list included talent, positional value, and likely availability, especially considering the post-June 1st deadline for cap implications and the upcoming roster cutdowns. The article questions Knox's specific reasoning for Onyemata's honorable mention. Is it because he's expected to be available but not highly sought after, or because teams would be interested but the Falcons wouldn't make him available? The latter is suggested as the more probable scenario, making his inclusion surprising. Several points argue against an Onyemata trade. Falcons' offseason decision. The Falcons had the option to release Onyemata earlier in the offseason, which would save them over $8 million in cap space. Their decision to retain him suggests they value his contribution for the upcoming season. Defensive line needs. Atlanta made several additions to their defense this spring, but did not significantly bolster the interior defensive line. Furthermore, they lost veteran defensive lineman Grady Jarrett as a cap casualty. This makes Onyemata's presence even more critical. Win-now mentality. The Falcons appear to be operating with a win-now approach for the 2025 season. General Manager Terry Fontenot, in particular, might need a playoff appearance to secure his position. Trading away a starting defensive lineman like Onyemata would likely hinder their ability to compete, making such a move improbable unless the team is clearly out of playoff contention by the NFL trade deadline. The article concludes that Onyemata, much like Pitts, is likely to start the season with the Falcons because the team is unlikely to make any moves this summer that would compromise their chances of winning in 2025. While trade speculation is common, the Falcons' current objectives make a deal involving a key defensive starter like Onyemata highly improbable at this stage. What are your thoughts on these Falcons players as trade candidates? Do you agree that an Onyemata trade is unlikely? The inclusion of David Onyemata on a list of potential trade candidates is intriguing, but the Atlanta Falcons' current roster needs and competitive stance makes such a move seem unlikely before the season begins. The future of veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins is a major talking point for the Atlanta Falcons, and a prominent NFL analyst has now projected his next potential landing spot. With Michael Penix Jr. having taken over as the Falcons starter late in the 2024 season, the focus has shifted to how Atlanta will navigate Cousins' significant remaining contract. The Falcons find themselves in a complex situation. Penix Jr. is firmly entrenched as the quarterback of the future, marking the 4th consecutive year Atlanta will begin a season with a different starting signal caller. This leaves Cousins, with 3 years remaining on his deal, 2 of which are guaranteed, in an awkward position. The most financially palatable scenario for the Falcons would be to trade Cousins after June 1st, a move that would free up $27.5 million in cap space while incurring a $12.5 million dead cap hit. While General Manager Terry Fontenot has suggested the team could keep Cousins as a backup, the financial implications make this a challenging proposition, despite it being the most cap-friendly in terms of immediate dead money if he stays. ESPN's Seth Walder, in his 2025 starting quarterback projections, has forecasted Kirk Cousins to land with the Cleveland Browns. Walder's reasoning is intriguing. Cousins, who could be released by the Falcons even after the team said Tuesday will be open to having him back as a backup, will be available for around the veteran minimum. Much like Russell Wilson was last year, should Atlanta move on, he wrote. Cousins' 2025 salary will offset against the $27.5 million in guaranteed salary he's owed by the Falcons, so there's little to no incentive for him to seek market compensation from his new team. This suggests a team like the Browns could acquire a proven veteran starter at a very low cost. Before Penix Jr. took over last season, Cousins threw for 3,508 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. The Falcons are currently reported to be $5.2 million over the salary cap. If they were forced to release Cousins post-June 1st, they would face a substantial $40 million dead cap hit. A trade isn't entirely off the table, but it would require the 36-year-old quarterback's approval due to clauses in his contract. The Falcons are navigating a tricky financial and roster situation with Cousins. While moving on from him presents a headache, the alternative of not having a clear path forward at the quarterback position is arguably worse, a problem they believe they've solved with Penix. What do you think is the most likely outcome for Kirk Cousins? Will he be traded, released, or could he end up with a team like the Cleveland Browns? Share your predictions in the comments below. The Atlanta Falcons have their quarterback of the future in Michael Penix Jr., but the resolution of Kirk Cousins' contract and his next destination remains one of the offseason's most compelling storylines.